So for slope-intercept form, it is in like this. Y equals mx plus b, okay, which we did talk about earlier this week. Now, what does the m stand for?
Slope.
The slope. Okay, whereas the b stands for the y-intercept. And so, notice how the y is by itself on one side and everything else is pushed to the other side. Look.
Can I take a guess at the answer?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so notice how the y is off by itself, because that is an important part of it to get it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so the y needs to be by itself, and then everything else can be on the other side to be in slope-intercept form. Now, notice how the slope is attached right next to the x. Okay, so when we're looking at things, you can always tell which one's the slope by whatever is closest to the x or attached to it. Okay, so this first one, we just need to write it in slope-intercept form. In slope, we use the letter m, and the y-intercept, we use the letter b. Okay, so essentially our equation is going to look like y equals my m, which is negative 10/3, x plus my b, which is 5. Okay, number 3, I'm going to get y equals, this is my m, this is my b. So negative 6x plus 2. Okay, 5, I'm going to get y equals negative 1x plus 1. Okay, number 7 is going to look like, this is my m, this is my b. Okay, it's going to look like y equals negative 1x. Now, because there's a 0, we do not put it. So, an important part of the slope, and I'm going to write it over here, okay? You could have just this, y equals x. Okay, now take a second and look at that. If there's no number in front of the x, what number is there? 1. Okay, if there's no number on the end, there's a 0 there. Okay, so this or this is just the general kind of slope equation. So because this is a 0, we're not going to put it. Okay, same with the 1. If there's a 1 there, you could just as equivalently write this as y equals negative x and not even put the 1. Okay, it's not necessary. Okay, and then I'm going to do number 10 rather than number 9, just so you know. Okay, so number 10 is going to look like, this is my m, this is my b, y equals 1x minus 3. Okay, we do not put a plus minus. Okay, if there's a minus for the y-intercept, then it's only a minus because the plus is part of the formula. So any of these y-intercepts that have a minus, you should have a minus 3 or a minus 5 or whatever the case may be for that, okay? But we never ever in math write plus and then minus, okay? So make sure for those minus ones that yours says minus. Okay, the back page, they want you to write it in slope-intercept form. So this is right now what we call standard form, meaning that everything's all mixed up, okay? We want it in slope-intercept form. So, again, slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so again, we want that y by itself. And these are kind of nice because the steps are going to be the same every time, okay? And the steps are going to be, you're either going to add or subtract the x's, and then you're going to divide by the y. Okay, so if we're looking at this first one, Well, first of all, I can kind of draw a line down here. Okay, we're trying to get the y by itself. So, do we need to add or subtract to this x? Subtract, because there's no sign in front of it. So, and you can also put a 1 in front of there. So you're going to say minus 1x minus 1x. Okay, so on this side, you're going to get 6y equals... Now, let's talk about how to write this. What comes first in our equation? The x's part or the y-intercept part? The x's part. So, you're going to write this x down first, negative 1x, and then we have a minus 24, so you're going to say minus 24. Because we need it all in a straight line like this in order for it to look like a slope. Okay, so we added or subtracted the x's, which we just did. And now you need to divide by the number that is next to the y. And what number is next to the y? 6. Okay, so again, when you're dividing two pieces like this, you cannot do this. Okay, because we need that rise over run, that slope. Okay, so really it's going to look like this. Divided by 6, divided by 6, divided by 6. Every piece needs to get divided by 6. Okay, now, you can use your calculator and type in 1 over 6 and see if that fraction reduces. However, again, this is a slope, so we would rise 6 or rise 1 and run 6, just like we would the other day. So you're going to get negative 1 over 6x. Okay, but what about the other part? What is negative 24 over 6? What is negative 24 over 6? Use your calculator. Negative 4. Okay, and so we can see here that our slope is negative 1 over 6. Our y-intercept is what? What's our y-intercept? Negative 4. Okay, so that kind of matches up. And this looks like this. Y equals m is 1 over 6, the x, and then plus the b, which is a minus this time. Okay, so if we're looking at number 13, are we going to add or subtract the x's? Subtract. So we're going to say minus 8x minus 8x. So we get y equals, what are we going to write first? The negative 8 or the 58? Negative 8x minus 58. And then our second step says divide by the number that's next to the y. Is there a number next to the y?
1.
There could be a 1, but there is nothing there, so this one is done. We don't even need to divide by the number next to the y. Okay, 15, are we going to add or subtract the x's? We're going to subtract. Okay, so I got negative y equals, what comes first? What am I going to write down first in my straight line? Negative x or the 2? Negative x. Okay, so we got negative x plus 2. So if there's no sign in front of that 2, it's a plus. Okay, and then what number is next to the y?
Nothing.
Well, okay, so it's only nothing on this one because there's not a negative. So on this one, see how it has a negative y? So that means there's really a negative 1 here. So you need to divide every piece by negative 1. And you can even put a 1 in front of that x. Okay, well, what is, for the x's, what is negative 1 divided by negative 1? 1x. 2 divided by negative 1. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Okay, and so we can see here that my slope is 1, my y-intercept is negative 2. Okay, 17. Are we going to add or subtract the x's? Subtract. So we're going to say minus 2x, minus 2x. Okay, so I got y equals, what am I going to write down first? The x or the 3?
X.
The x. So I'm going to say minus 2x, minus 3. What's my number next to the y? Next to the y. Nothing. Okay, and there's not a negative, so we're done with this one. Okay, my slope is -2. My y-intercept is -3. Okay, 19. Are we going to add or subtract the x's? Subtract them. So we're going to say minus 5x on both sides. Minus 5x. Okay, so I got 7y equals, what am I going to be writing first?
5x.
-5x minus 56. Is there a number next to the y? Yes, so we're going to divide every piece by that number. Okay, -5/7, does that reduce? Okay, and if you don't know, you hit your fraction button in your calculator and say 5, and then put the 7 on the bottom and hit equals. What does it say? -5/7, so that means it doesn't reduce, so we're going to leave it the way it is. Okay, what about this one? 56/7. -8. Okay, so my slope is -5/7. My y-intercept is -8. Okay, and I'm going to do one more just so you have a little extra experience. Look at 20. Okay, am I going to add or subtract? Subtract. So I'm going to say minus 4x, minus 4x. So I got 7y equals, what am I writing first? -4x. Then what? Plus 14. So there's no sign in front of that 14, so we're going to say plus 14. Then what? Divide every piece by 7. So we get y equals 4/7. Does that reduce? Or do we leave it that way? We're going to leave it that way. So we got -4/7 x. What about 14/7? Is 2. Okay, so my slope is -4/7. My y-intercept is 2. Okay, you guys have nine problems to do. Okay, go through and get your 9 done and put it in the box back there.